Mr. Lonely. Hello, everyone.
What a sad song
I
this
know the
morning.
song is so sad. When I sit down to skip it, but it's also a nice song as well. You meet.
Yes, good morning. Welcome, I'm Miss Oba. Not forget.
We'll
We
be
would have released
following
some
you
secrets before
before
we
we
remember to
remember.
turn it up. That will be
Every
it.
wicked secret you make, every cross, every jump. There should be someone that listens that should be able to recite this thing.
I'm sure there are people.
Yeah, every victory.
We will be following you.
Lakomi, since how long?
Welcome.
Welcome
Luckily,
inside
we're
the
following
locker
them.
room.
We are watching them.
Bye.
Let's go.
Good morning. You're listening to Smooth 98.1 Love Music Love Life. It's with Valentine Ohu.
And Ayomira
I knew that was
Essay.
going to happen. I knew that. Oh, that's what happens when you get used to each other's
Oh my
names and Smooth
goodness.
Breakfast.
Yeah.
Taga's here. Taga Supreme. Taga Najaife. Taga the Tiger. Taga the Fighter. Hi, Taga. Good morning.
Tega is none of the above. Tega is just the queen.
You're Najaife.
Tega the queen.
Yeah, Tega the queen.
Taga the Queen.
Mm-hmm.
Go
Not the
watch on
fighter.
YouTube.
I won't fight.
Mm,
Good morning, everybody. How was your weekend?
it was great. Thank you for
Oh,
asking.
I was not asking you. I was asking people that.
Two at last. Less than 5 minutes.
So, how was your weekend? I hope it was good. In spite of what's happening at the Olympics to Team Nigeria,
Oh,
there's
man.
been some good outcomes though. But I hope you had a good weekend. All in
Yes, we
all.
did. Thank you so
I
much.
can't wait to hear the good outcomes because it was so difficult to see the good shrouded in the
You know what they
clouds of the
say.
bad.
You know what they say. Do you know how? A you know how skiers bypass obstacles?
Yeah.
How do they do it?
They bend and they move and they.
No, actually, they just look for the path.
Oh really?
So if you look for the trees, if you look for the obstacles, you will hit the obstacles.
Oh, really?
So they just tell you to look at the snow for the path. And so because they are focused on the snow and focused on the path, all they see is the path. We see the obstacles because we're like, hey, he's about to hit something. But
they
when
move
you're
past
training them,
Mm.
the reason they move past them is because they see the path.
What
So
a powerful way to
so
start
that's
the
how
day.
you look at life. So if all you see in life is the negative, that's all you will get.
You keep hitting the
You
negative.
see,
Amazing.
so you have to see the path.
All right.
Yeah.
So be a skier today,
I
and that's
will
why
be
the
a
Olympics
skier.
are on.
I will be a skier.
Thanks.
All right, so if you are fellow skiers out there, here's the number. So no negativity, but just seeing the positives. This is the number to send your message to on WhatsApp 0809 444.
0981.
Thank you for distracting me.
Thank
Yeah.
Now, Nigerian sprinter and 2008 Olympics long jump silver medalist Blessing Okagbare's Tokyo Games ended abruptly on Saturday morning after she was provisionally suspended following a positive test for human growth hormone. The Athletics Integrity Unit said this in a statement. The athlete was notified of the adverse analytical finding and of her provisional suspension this morning in Tokyo, the AIU said. The unit said she tested positive in and out of competition tests on July 19 and was informed of her suspension on Saturday.
Okay, so it was in and out of competition tests. That's what was making the
Yes.
Olympics. So those 10 athletes that were disqualified because they didn't have enough out of competition tests. That's why they were disqualified.
Okay.
It's not that they were doped. It's just that they didn't have enough out of competition tests. And this is the reason why they do the out of competition test. Because sometimes out of competition, these athletes forget themselves. They're like, we're not in competition, and they live their lives like a normal person. As an athlete, even if you're having a headache, you can't just go across the counter and buy a prescription because you don't know what's in it.
Wow.
Yes.
That's some good insight.
So you can't just go, oh, I have a cold. Give me anything then.
as
No.
far as you're in Tokyo, you have to be in your best behavior.
As far as you're an athlete.
So even if
Whether you're in Tokyo, whether you're not in Tokyo, whether you are
Wow.
vacationing somewhere, be careful of what you put in your system because these out of competition tests are so random. So you tell them where you are going to be 75% of the time, and they will just pick a day and show up at your door and say, oh yeah, sample. That's it. They will just pick, which is why an athlete cannot prompt it. Which is why I was saying this was the federation's fault and not the athlete's fault. You can't prompt it because it's so random. And so she was randomly out of competition. I know where she was on July 19th, probably in the UK or in the US, just living her best life, and they did this test and they found the substance in her system. So she's suspended. Here's my problem with the suspension though. We all read the AIU's submission, but we've still not heard from AFN. They came out and said, "Oh, we are so dismayed." I'm sorry, are you people not at the games? Did these people talk to the athletes? If you are dismayed, what should we be if we are here that we couldn't get to Tokyo? So again, it's everything. The federation is falling apart on every level. They're just dropping the ball on every level. So an athlete of yours was provisionally suspended. We haven't heard from the athletes. We haven't heard from you. You haven't said anything about. So we are just in the dark, and we're just going to keep waiting. This happened on Saturday. By Saturday evening, you should have spoken with the athlete. I understand her not wanting to speak with the press because she wouldn't want to implicate herself. But the federation, she's accountable to the federation because she's representing you at the games. So you talk to her and then you release a statement, and it's just, I need to get into one of these offices. I think that's my next ambition.
I think you should.
That's it. I'm done playing catch up.
All right, then, by the way, we're on YouTube. So for those, I know we've had people start going on YouTube, and the action is live there. So youtube.com/smooth981 FM Lagos. Injury ends Adegoke's podium dream as Italy's Jacobs wins 100-meter final. Enoch Adegoke's dream of becoming the first Nigerian man to win a 100 meters Olympic medal came to an end on Sunday as he pulled up midway into the final of the blue ribbon event that was won by Italian sprinter Lamont Marcel Jacobs. Fred Curley of the United States won the silver, while Andre DeGrasse of Canada took the bronze.
Okay, here was the shocker, first of all. It was a guy from Italy. I don't know anybody that saw him coming. I saw later some people saying we thought he was coming.
Yeah.
We've been looking at his times, making of champions. They are the ones that cover a lot of athletics in Nigeria. But really, on the scale of 1 to 10, he was not the first name on my list. I did see the USA Curly. I thought the grass was going to make it because somehow that guy just finds a way to get medal. Anyhow, is a how. That guy's a worry guy. I mean, in his other life, he doesn't carry last. Somehow, he always finds a way to get a medal. I also thought South Africa's Akani Simbine would get a medal. He finished 4th, though. I thought because of the year he's had, I thought he'd get a medal. But nobody saw Lamont coming. And he won it just about the same time that the high jump Italian player won gold.
Yeah.
So after they hugged at the same time. So I was like, where did that extra guy come from? Before I realized who it was. But yes, it was fantastic. But for Enoch Adegoke, and again, I saw a headline this morning that I wanted to tell people how irresponsible that headline was. Remember what I said about being a skier? So this headline writes, Enoch Adegoke fails in 100 meters. And I said, hold on. Do you know the last time a Nigerian man was in 100 meters final?
Exactly.
Was 1996. Do you know when 1996 was? Some people were not born in 1996.
Yes, they were. And that's 25 years ago.
25 years ago. So he didn't fail. In all this, he did not fail. Now, here's another clincher. Enoch Adegoke ran sub 10 for his heat. Was it 9.98 or 9.84? Maybe I'm mixing his time, but he ran sub 10. This boy had not run sub 10 in his life. The first time he ran sub 10 was at the Olympics. How is that a failure? Then, not only did he run sub 10, he got to the semifinals and he came second in the semifinals. In the semifinals where Johan Blake, multiple time Olympic medal champion for Jamaica, didn't make it through. How is that a failure? Because sometimes we just expect miracle. But if you hear the stories of other athletes, how they progressed, Enoch Adegoke was progressing with each competition. So you can't use those words, and which is why I say the guys were looking at the trees. And so yes, he gets to the finals, and there was another issue. So they said I'm not there, I'm here, but we get reports from all these places, and they said that the physio Enoch Adegoke wasn't allowed to travel with his coach. And then you remember in the final he pulls up with a hamstring,
yeah.
and there were suggestions that Nigeria did not have physios, enough physios for their athletes. So they had to share. Somebody from the ministry has come out to say, let me mention her name to be precise, Mary Onyali has come out to say that there were physios there. There were like 4 physios there. How can she say and how can you say that there was no physio? But there were suggestions that there were no physios for him, and so because he had been stretching himself, he needed a little more attention, maybe ice bath, and then massage strategically for his thigh muscles, especially because that's the muscle he was training to make that sub 10 time to qualify from the semi-finals to the final, that he had outrun. He has outperformed what he's been performing before, his performances of the past, and so maybe he needed extra attention from his physio, and he wasn't getting it. So those were the suggestions that were coming in from Tokyo, and then the ministry came out to say, no, we had 4 physios. I don't know who to believe.
Having physios and having them work,
and having them work well, and then for me, if you can carry extra officials that are doing nothing, why didn't you let these athletes go with their coaches?
Exactly.
Because there's a relationship, there's an understanding. You look at all the American athletes, you see the coaches, and the coaches were from their university. So you see LSU, so Louisiana State University, you see UCLA, so you can tell that these coaches worked with them all through. Why didn't you let Nigeria? If you can pay for officials that have no business being there to go,
because it's politics over the game,
isn't
it?
So again, the ministry just falling apart on itself. But let's take the next story.
Let's take some comments, actually. If a number have come in. Dapo from Aguda says, so sad and sorry that Enoch Adegoke pulled a hamstring muscle during the final of the men's 100 meters dash and failed to prove a better competitiveness. Gracious of him to still finish the race anyhow. Those 3 Jamaican girls are just so sensational, taking a clean sweep of the women's 100 meters dash. Seems like the Usain Bolt spirit is contagious in the country. I can imagine what will happen to the 4 times 100 meter relay race record if they keep up with such invincibility.
That's right. And Chukwebuka here says, all right, Gary Newton, thank you. He says, hello, Onetega. The only analyst who make missing live events fun, because she brings it back live.
That's right.
Live. Thank you so much.
And your word says, Tega, it's time, we are behind you. What do you need? What do we do as Nigerians to make this happen? That's UBM going into the ministry. How can we have such a ridiculous sports ministry, so much so we are giving Solomon Dalung some credit?
I'm telling you.
I'm beyond upset. Please then take this helm. We are with you. So
That's
you have
right.
people,
Okay.
Let's move on now. Aston Martin Sebastian Vettel has been disqualified after finishing second in the Hungarian Grand Prix. Officials were unable to take the mandatory 1-liter sample of fuel from Vettel's car after the race. The decision promotes Mercedes' Lewis Hamilton to second place and extends his championship lead over the Red Bull's Max Verstappen to 8 points. Governing body, the FIA, said it was possible to pump out only 0.3 liters from Vettel's car, and that it was no defense to claim no performance advantage was obtained.
Okay, so here it is. Ideally, they always say at any point in time, this is a rule in F1. At any point in time, they should be able to take out at least 1 liter from your car at any point in time. And
that's their own random drug test.
That's their own random doping for the car. And then there's also once the car is lighter, of course it's going to be faster. Now Sebastian Vettel finished second, and all through the race he was dogging Esteban Ocon, who won the race. Yes, Esteban Ocon won the race, shockingly, in an Alpine car. It wasn't a Ferrari, it wasn't a Red Bull, it wasn't a Mercedes, it was an Alpine that won the race. Anyways, so Esteban Ocon finished first, and Sebastian Vettel was fast, and he was dogging him all through the race. So in fact, he couldn't even drive his car to park his car in the right spot. He parked his car on the road.
Oh, full finished.
Not that full finished, but he had the Alpine car also parked on the road. So the 2 cars that finished first and second, because their car is not used to that kind of performance before. So they did not want to spoil the car for the next, so they just parked it. They won the race and they parked it where it was, and then they had to run all the way to the podium to get their trophy. So really ridiculous. But yes, those kind of, because the fuel was not enough, and they're like, why can't you you're supposed to have 1 liter after. We got 1 liter for everybody, then you must have had a lighter car, so he's disqualified, and that takes Lewis Hamilton to second. But let's talk about the race itself and all the madness that went on. So Friday, dry race, sun was out, the track was hot, they're even talking about the tire, how they're going to manage it. Same thing on Saturday. Sunday, rain started to fall. Rain from nowhere. It started to drizzle, and then it went heavy. Now, because these people had not practiced in these conditions, it was going to be anybody's race. So everybody was on intermediate tires. Intermediate tires is the tires you use when the track is not is wet, but it's not too wet. Slick tires what you use when it's completely wet. So intermediate tires were the tires everybody had on. And the race starts. And again, because the conditions were tricky, they had already warned us that anything we see today, we should take it. I kind of felt that was going to happen. So they start moving. Lewis Hamilton was in pole. He goes first. Sebastian Vettel immediately follows him because he's trying to overtake him. Then Valtteri Bottas, who started in second, didn't have a good start. So Lando Norris overtakes him. Sergio Perez overtakes him. And Valtteri Bottas forgets, he in his bid to try and catch up, he forgets to brake as they are getting into turn 1. So he drives into Lando Norris. Lando Norris takes out Sebastian Vettel. Then Bottas, because he's hit Lando Norris now, his car turns and he takes out Sergio Perez. So Valtteri Bottas single-handedly, without any jurisdiction or any judgment or any prior hint, takes out the 2 Red Bull cars. I remember last weekend, it was Lewis Hamilton that took out Verstappen. Come and see holy hell. He was like nemesis. So and that's how Max Verstappen's car had the damage. He had to go. He fell all the way down to the grid. Sergio Perez was out of the race. Lando Norris out of the race. Charles Leclerc, because of what had happened in front, Stroll was trying to avoid it, also crashed into Charles Leclerc. So there were like 4 or 5 cars out of the race at the first start, and it was all but Bottas instigated. So they had to restart the race again. The rain was wrecked flat. They took everything off. They had to restart the race. Now, when they wanted to restart the race, there was not one single drop of rain. The sun had come out, and it had dried the track instantly. Gosh. So everybody was on intermediate tires, and it wouldn't last. It wouldn't be fast. It wouldn't last long. So, and Lewis was leading the race. So I heard in the paddock when the head engineer said, the rain is not coming again, maybe we should change tires. And they're like, no, the car still looks dark. So they went with the original message. They start to go to the formation line. And as they start to go to the formation line, Lewis Hamilton passes everybody to go to the formation line. And everybody enters into the pit lane to change their tires.
Oh my goodness. Oh, no.
So Lewis Hamilton was the only one that started on the grid. So the lights went out. Lewis Hamilton started on the grid. And he was the only one on intermediate tires. So he went from first to plumb last.
Shouldn't they have stopped the race? That's unfair.
Yeah, no,
decision.
it's a decision. It's decision making. It's strategy.
Rains,
So Mercedes was saying that they thought everybody would go for 1 round first before they start changing the tires. And because it's so hard to overtake, if they had gone into the pit lane and everybody else didn't go into the pit lane, they felt they would have come out last. But I thought, no. If you'd gone into the pit lane to change tires, everybody would eventually have to go and change the tires, which means that your tire would have had a head start because your tires, number one, would have been warmer. And then you would have been at the front of the line. So you don't need to be in anybody's dirty air. And this track is hard to overtake at. So Lewis Hamilton now had to fight from last to finish third where he finished. And now in second. So yes, Mercedes' strategy made it harder. But what an interesting weekend it was.
You know, if you apply this to your daily life, that's actually, it's from Formula One. I got to learn that, first of all, the pressure in your tire affects the fuel consumption. Number one. The balance of your car.
Yep.
The way it grips the road when you're driving. So it's always important for you to check the PSI level of the PSI is the measure for
and don't you see all those people that always say once you take your tire to the vulcanizer, it just says 40.
40. Not every car is 40.
Not every car is 40.
My car is 35.
Yeah,
so
check your car.
Pressure, it's actually limited. It's right on the side.
The right on the side. Yeah. So don't just live by 40.
You never know what you learn when you come on the locker room 981. But gosh, thank you so much. I'm going to go and check the pressure pump on my tires. We need to go on a break now. When we come back, we'll continue. This is such an interesting conversation.
So yeah.
Wow, maybe just say 40.
Just check. You never know.
Mine
That
is optimum 35.
that one will even damage your car more, your tires
So
more.
so also balance, Abi.
Yeah, balance. Yeah, everything.
My money has finished. Oh, babe, calm down now.
It's the most amazing experience.
It is.
So that strategy was, I was just like, how do you do this to Lewis again?
Exactly.
He could have conveniently won this race, had 25 points. The gap between him and this guy would be like 22
Verstappen,
points. Now it's just 8.
Max. Lewis and Max.
So you don't have to.
The gap would have, now it's just 8. It was just rubbish. Strategy is important in this life.
It
Strategy.
is so important.
So with the right strategy, you save yourself
Yeah.
more time
Yep.
in execution.
Morning.
Don't wait for life. You go to meet
That's just the truth. You save yourself if you have the right strategy. If you spend 2 hours
Yes, yes,
on
yes,
strategy,
yeah.
you will spend 20 minutes on the job.
Yeah,
If you spend 20 minutes on the job, you spend 2 weeks
On you're
on
so
execution.
correct.
That's just it's just
If you didn't
So
strategize,
yeah. If you did strategize, yeah, that's it.
So correct.
stimulating aroma.
Speaking of strategy, do we have time?
Cafe 3 in
No, we have 10 minutes more.
Let
9
me-
minutes more actually.
Let me give you gossip. So
Oh no, you need to go for break 40
Yeah.
seconds.
let me give you gossip.
after the show, please.
No, I can't give you this gossip.
Yeah,
Oh,
quickly,
oh, we are coming back
Yeah,
now.
now, yeah.
Please don't put that Barry White breaker again. We've already had promo.
No, that's we'll come back after this.
No, it's after this one.
Mm,
No, see the stopper now.
oh, okay. I didn't see the sofa on. I just saw Barry White.
Okay.
It's very next, Debbie.
Yes, we'll take a message and then if there's any messages.
Smooth 98.1, love music, love life. We give you reasons to want to listen all day long.
Absolutely right. You're listening to I Am Iro Essay
And Valentine Ogu.
and Tega. Oh, no, not Tega. That's right. On Local Room 981, George says from Area 51, can this random testing be used to target some athletics or athletes? And also, how many random tests should be done per time?
Okay, so because Nigeria is on category A list, and what category A list simply means is you are most likely, your athletes are most likely to dope. Which now makes this blessings test worse.
Yeah.
Because they're like, yeah, see why you're on category A
Oh,
list.
exactly.
So we have to do, so I think a minimum of three tests before the next major competition. And it's not a minimum of three tests, you do it in 1 week. No, you do it over maybe over a period of 3 months, or
Yeah.
I think it's 3 months or 6 months. I'll
While
check out.
Tokyo Olympics is going on with this test, we're in COVID Olympics and we've been taking random tests, multiple tests.
Yes,
before and after
actually.
travel.
Test yourself.
Yeah.
Tayo from Aja says, with all the success that we are witnessing at the Olympics, I'd like to thank the sports minister and respective federation on how far we have come. They said we should embarrass them. So, in Kadegoke's performance, despite his injury, really stood out. So sad he burnt out at the end.
Yeah.
I think what I meant was we should not.
Yeah,
embarrass
I
them.
know what-
Hence
no.
the sarcasm.
Oh, that we shouldn't embarrass them.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, I was going to say that.
No, it was sarcasm.
I knew it was sarcasm. I was like, okay.
Well, he says PCO's on excursion. Maybe they had gone to shop.
No, they didn't take them to Olympics. It wasn't like they didn't want to. Okay, you mean the ones that were there?
So let's take the next
And let's
story.
go to tennis. Tennis at the Olympics. Zverev wins Tokyo Games men's singles gold. Alexander Zverev said that nothing is bigger than winning an Olympic gold medal after brushing aside Karen Khachanov to take the men's singles title in Tokyo on Sunday.
Yes, so Sasha Zverev is one of the guys that you always anticipated was going to win the next Grand Slam early. He's one of the new kids on the block that look most likely, especially after he took some big scalps in his first ATP Tour finals. Unfortunately for him, he played the US Open final last year against Dominic Thiem, and Dominic Thiem won that. But this Olympics was his redemption, and he gets to the semifinals against Novak Djokovic and destroys Novak Djokovic.
Wow.
And then goes on to the final and destroys Karen Khachanov. So that one was expected for him to beat Khachanov, because Khachanov's game starts and ends with his big serves and his forehands. Zverev has all kinds of variety. His backhand is wicked. His serves are huge. His court coverage for a tall guy, his court coverage is very impressive. How his legs don't tangle when he's moving up and down is still a miracle to me. So he had more weapons in his arsenal. So it always looked like he was going to be Sasha Zverev, and he won that. On the women's side, though, Belinda Bencic of Switzerland overcame Vondrousova, the giant slayer, to take the gold medal. She said she got a text from Roger Federer, her countryman, telling her, you know what, this is your year, so make sure you go back and get the gold. And she won that. So again, those two people I expected when I saw them in the finals. I expected that outcome.
Predicted.
And they did win. For Novak Djokovic, though, he had the worst meltdown because he loses in the semifinals against Sasha Zverev. Then he goes to the doubles, and sorry, he plays the third place match against Karinya Busta, and then he lost. And in his losing, he flung his racket. First of all, he smashed his racket on the center net. Then he flung his racket into the stands. And then he didn't show up for his
Press conference.
for his mixed doubles third place match.
Wow.
Yeah.
Such a
What's the
tantrum.
implication? Is he going to be fined?
He should be fined.
Look, everybody say mental health. Now, what do you want to say? You see, when I said there was a slippery slope with this mental health thing,
Yeah,
he will say his mind is not in the right
Everybody
place.
just jump on
Uh-huh. So it's a slippery slope. It's such a vague it's such a vague meaning
Wow,
definition.
Because there's a thin line between
Yeah, so he's
mental health
throwing a tantrum, and now he's
and-
telling us he was not in the right place in his mind. What do you want to say?
That's bad
Should be you people
behavior.
say we should have
That's
empathy.
bad
That's just bad
You know,
behavior.
it's like saying a child is throwing tantrum because they lost, and you say, oh, it's just because it's affecting him. That
no.
his confidence
So
level.
I for
Meanwhile,
the
guy is just a sore loser.
yeah, but no, for racket abuse, he did get some on-court warnings for the racket abuse, but not just showing up for his mixed doubles bronze medal. That was just wrong.
Yeah. All right. Right. Okay.
Let's go
move
to
on.
next
Yeah, let's
one.
Now, Puerto Rico's Jasmine Camacho Queen won the women's 100 meters hurdles gold on Monday, actually blitzing the field despite hitting one hurdle to finish in 12.37 seconds at Tokyo's spectator-free Olympic Stadium.
Yes, so huge one for Camacho Queen. She had actually broken just the day before on Sunday. She had actually broken the Olympic record, and now she was gunning for the world record. Also note that the world record holder was running in this race, but she hadn't been in great form. She'd had a lot of injuries.
That's Asha, right?
No, that's
No.
Harrison.
Harrison.
Kendra Harrison. So she had run. I mean, she'd had a couple of injuries, so she was just coming back from injuries. Even when you watch her through the heat, she didn't look like the same person that set the world record. And so Camacho Queen was actually going for that. She was the fastest woman on track. I actually expected her to win, but for me, I was more disappointed in Tobi Amusan, who was representing Nigeria. Now, Tobi Amusan, what happened to Tobi Amusan this morning happened to her at Doha. She gets to the finals. She's run so perfectly, gets to the finals, and then her nerves takes over. So her start again was poor. And by the time she looks up, Jamaican Tapper was already ahead of her. Of course, Camacho Queen was gone. Harrison was gone, which means first, second, third position was. So she was playing catch up all the time. And to make matters worse, Brittany Anderson, who was running beside her, just kept hitting her own hurdles down. I think she knocked down about 3 hurdles, and she was just right beside Toby. And people say those things don't affect you. It does. So really huge one for Tobi Amusan is how she gets over her nerves in the finals that will determine whether she wins the medal. Because this particular Olympics, regardless of how fast Harrison looked and the fact that Tapper won the bronze, if Tobi Amusan had started off well, again, she would have won a medal. The same way at the World Championships, she looked like she was going to win a medal. She got to the finals, started slowly, and just never caught up. So therein lies the problem for Tobi Amusan. She was a real medal hopeful. She was a genuine medal hopeful. It was not a pray and throw up some powder in the air and hope that it will catch. No, it was literally she had practiced, she had the technique. Her nerves on the last day failed her. So
That's
sad one.
unfortunate.
But let's round up with the women.
Yes,
from
we have to touch the Jamaican
Jamaican
trio.
women, the Jamaican trio. Amazing one. So there was this video I saw going round. It was how the Jamaicans train. So they did a full documentary. Meanwhile, we have documentaries on the Nigerian athletes that I did a voiceover on. Go and watch
Well
it.
done.
Well done.
But the Jamaicans have this documentary and they show how they train their athletes. So really small nation, but they recognize what their talents are
Yes.
and they develop it only.
Beautiful.
And which is a problem we have in Nigeria. We don't even recognize, we're just all
Well,
over the
yeah,
place.
exactly.
So they recognize what their talents are and they develop their sprints. And there was this video of how they train, and the stadiums were not the most beautiful of stadiums. They look like they could have been in Nigeria. It's Jamaica. It's not like their first world country. So, but they developed their talents, and what had happened for especially Elaine, she struggled with her injuries. She had the Achilles, the knee. She didn't look like she was going to make it. In fact, she said a few months to this tournament, she didn't think she was just barely managing to jog. So for her to get here, and at every heat, she always looked the fastest. So I wasn't surprised she took gold. I thought Shelley and Fraser Price would be a lot closer, but no. The way Elaine Thompson was chasing down this Olympic record, as she broke the Olympic record, she was chasing down that record. It was really amazing. So Nigeria, the one thing you should learn from is what Jamaica does.
Yes.
They know they are good in sprints. You will not see them killing themselves for marathon. You will not see them killing themselves for football. But sprints, they know,
Yeah.
and sprints, they develop. And that's why they're able to come with first three. And look, if Sherika Jackson would have done well in her heat, she thought she had beat the line, and then at the end of the day, somebody ducked faster than her. They will still sweep the 200.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Sherika Jackson is not making it through to the next round. But if she had, they would have swept the 200. So we need to be careful.
Yep. Well, congratulations to all the medal winners.
Yep.
Congratulations to Team Nigeria. And I'm saying this because despite the hurdles you've had to face,
At least you got there.
Yeah, you got there. And you're still keeping your heads up and high. So we're really, really proud of you. Shout out to all our listeners, especially on YouTube. Elke Aderogba, Christian Trooks, and B for your comments. Unfortunately, we are
waiting for
out
gossip.
of time. Yeah, B is waiting for gossip. All right, thank you all so much for being a part of the show. Tega, as always, wonderful. Follow the work she does with ladies in sports at LIS International on all social media platforms. It is still Smooth Breakfast Show. We have some great music lined up for you, so stay tuned.
Let's turn up so that they don't hear the gossip.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
I did not see, so I'm hitting the close button, yeah?
Yeah.